From the more than 180 miles of scenic Atlantic coastline to the Blue Ridge Mountains and the rich history and culture of Charleston, South Carolina has a little something for everyone. There are more than 350 golf courses, 90,000 plus acres of parklands, including Congaree National, and a vibrant food scene that folds in southern barbecue and low-country favorites like she crab soup. When it comes to tourism, the Palmetto State rakes in more than $31 billion in tourism dollars. This means big bucks for our communities, with visitor spending generating roughly $3.2 billion in state and local tax revenue. Money going to improve public services like local law enforcement, road repairs, and coastline preservation. And when it comes to jobs, our world-class tourism industry delivers more than 200,000 jobs, employing 1 out of every 10 South Carolinians. Welcome to In Focus. I'm Bree Driscoll. Our vibrant tourism industry is not only important to the state economy, it is also the lifeblood of so many communities. Today we'll speak with 3 state leaders about some of the challenges the industry is facing and efforts underway to draw in more tourism dollars. Our first guest is State Senator Jason Elliot. Senator, thank you so much for joining us today. South Carolina is known for its beaches, but there's much more to the state. Can you talk about trends you are seeing in the state's tourism industry, and how do you ensure smaller communities have the opportunity to compete with larger destinations?
Yeah, well, tourism in South Carolina is a big deal and a huge business. Statewide, it accounts for about 1 out of every 10 jobs and brings in for direct benefits, over $30 billion a year. In Greenville County, where I represent and where I live, tourism and recreation is a huge part of what we do. It's a huge part of our community, and it's a huge part of our economy. And we bring in over $2 billion a year in tourism revenue in Greenville County. And the region as a whole is obviously more than that. A big part of that has been an expansion of an old rail line called the Swamp Rabbit Trail. So the county of Greenville showed much foresight more than a decade ago, purchasing that rail line and turning it into a real recreational asset that connects the city of Greenville through and past Furman University and up to Travelers Rest. So it's been a real boon for that area.
And state parks protect more than 90,000 acres of South Carolina's natural beauty. Talk about the importance of parks, camping, and outdoor recreation to the future of South Carolina's tourism.
Yeah, well, we have a robust state park system in South Carolina, so I'd encourage everyone, again, in South Carolina who hasn't been to our state parks and those who are visiting. In Greenville, it's hard to believe there is a state park, Paris Mountain State Park, it's only a couple of miles from downtown Greenville at Paris Mountain, and provides swimming, hiking, mountain biking. It's a real asset in a relatively suburban area. Table Rock State Park, Jones Gap State Park, Kiowee-Toxaway, Oconee. Our state park system is a real asset to the whole state, and particularly the upstate of South Carolina.
And South Carolina's food scene is becoming a destination in itself. How has culinary tourism evolved over the past decade?
So for those folks who are visiting South Carolina for the first time or think that the food scene is located just in Charleston, well, we have Michelin-starred restaurants in Greenville. The culinary scene in the upstate of South Carolina, with the hub being Greenville, has really taken off. The city of Greenville, the population just surpassed 80,000 for the first time. So that's a relatively small city in a county of over 550,000. But the restaurants, the locally owned restaurants with the quality in Greenville, up and down Main Street in the northern part of the county, and in Simpsonville, Fountain Inn, and in Greer, please come check them out. I think your viewers will be pleasantly surprised and want to return to the upstate for all the restaurant offerings that we have.
And South Carolina's music scene, from beach music and bluegrass to festivals and live entertainment, is another major draw. How does the music scene contribute to the state's tourism economy?
It complements what we've talked about. It complements the outdoors. I mean, you can be outdoors at a brewery and hear live music. The live music offerings in Greenville and the whole area have really increased. There are a number of places where almost any night of the week here in Greenville County and across the upstate, you can hear live music. And the Peace Center in Greenville recently has several new offerings with venues that promote live music on a regular basis. We have a new listening room across the street from the Peace Center and another big one coming. The music scene in Greenville is thriving, and it adds again to a synergistic effect of tourism and recreation in upstate South Carolina.
And very quickly here, golf remains one of South Carolina's signature attractions with more than 350 courses statewide. What makes the state such a premier golf destination, and what economic impact does golf tourism have?
But golf tourism is huge in South Carolina. And again, it is not only along the coast and upstate South Carolina. We have great offerings, great courses, and more coming online across the upstate. Folks come to South Carolina to play golf because you can play it a great part of the year. And even in the months of November, December, and January, there are plenty of days in South Carolina, in the upstate of South Carolina, where you can get out and enjoy the golf course and any other outdoor activity that you'd be looking for.
Yeah, perfect golf weather all year long. All right, Senator, thank you so much for your time today.
Thanks for having me.
Well, we have to take a quick break. Ahead, we'll chat with Representative and small business owner Chris Wooten about the impact of tourism in his district.
My name's Stacy, I'm 57, and I was adopted in 2020. One teen can come in and make you look at life in a whole different way.
You know, he's my father, so I look up to him a lot. If I can be 10% of the man he is, I'll be a happy person for sure.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org. Been taking a deep dive into the tourism industry here in the Palmetto State. From the allure of the coastline to more inland locations with fishing, camping, and hiking, our next guest is Representative Chris Wooten. Representative, thank you so much for joining us today. Lake Murray is one of South Carolina's premier freshwater destinations. What makes the lake such an economic engine for Lexington County and the Midlands?
Well, it's not just the fact that the lake is so large that so many people can enjoy it. It's just the fact of where it is. It's centrally located. Folks can come from all over the state for Lake Murray. It's between the fishing and the recreational activities. We've got great restaurants on the lake. So it's just a tourist draw to a certain extent for local folks. And we can have a vacation right there at home for the most part.
And what opportunities and responsibilities come with representing one of the state's largest tourism destinations?
Well, you know that Lake Murray itself, Lexington County itself, has more DNR registered boats just in our county than anywhere else in the state. So that just shows you that the folks that live in that area, we're taking advantage of one of the most beautiful natural resources that our state has to offer. So the draw for it is not only just the fact of, you know, you can come out by yourself and go fishing, or you can You can bring your whole family out and you can enjoy a day on an island. You can ski or drive all the way up the river to, like I said, one of the great restaurants that we have in different parts, because it spreads out over 2 or 3 different counties, so it's a great asset right in the Midlands.
Yeah, so many opportunities for different pastimes. And you've championed legislation to strengthen boating safety following several high-profile accidents on South Carolina waterways. What progress has been made, and what policy changes do you believe are still needed?
Well, I think that when it comes down to, as you know, as I mentioned, there's so many boats that are registered and on the lake, whether coming in from other counties or wherever. So we have to prioritize the safety portion, because not everyone. I grew up on the lake. I grew up driving a boat. I grew up with my dad on the weekends. So I was taught at an early age how to respect not only the water and the folks around me, but just the fact that there's other things that play a factor. There's a lot of folks that, you can, up until just last year, when we enacted all this, you could go out, buy a boat, drive straight to the lake, not know how to put it in the water, not even know how to start it. But you could take off across the lake. And we didn't feel that was very safe. I'm not a big regulations guy. I don't think the government needs to regulate more, but I do feel like when it comes to public safety, that we have to put that at the forefront of others, because everybody is not in the same boat and doesn't know exactly. And we don't make laws.
No pun
We don't make
intended.
laws. Yes, we don't make laws for good people, and we don't regulate. We don't like to regulate the people that do know what's happening, but a lot of people don't, and there's so many people there.
And South Carolina continues to see preventable drownings each year, especially among young children. Beyond legislation, what public education efforts could have the biggest impact? Are there additional partnerships between state agencies, schools, and local governments that could better promote water safety before tragedies occur?
Yeah, I know for a fact that our sheriff's department, Jay Kuhn, our sheriff, has been remarkable at trying to help educate our citizens and make sure that the lake is safe. DNR is working hand in hand with them to make sure that the policies and procedures are the same across the board, to make sure people are not only sober on the lake, but just knowing what to do. I mean, because we've strengthened our boating under the influence laws. We've tried to make sure that you can't go within certain speeds closer to docks, and we put all that stuff into effect. But there's still people that are going to push the limits, and luckily for us, we have an incredibly great law enforcement division, whether it's with DNR or especially our sheriff's department. Richland County as well is involved on the lake, so we've got boats from Richland, Lexington, and DNR that are patrolling the lake to make it safer. And without those guys, I mean, we can have all the great resources, and we can have the best restaurants and the best tourism around, but if we're not safe, none of that stuff matters. So my hat's off to our first responders and the folks that continue to make that safe every day. And the presence is huge. People, when you see that there's a DNR boat or a deputy patrolling the lake, you're gonna, it's just like I'm an old state trooper, and if you don't see him on the road, you're gonna speed. But if you see that presence, then you're gonna be a lot more likely to be a lot safer. So.
That is for sure. And Lake Murray offers much more than just boating, from fishing and paddle sports to camping, hiking, and bird watching. How can the state continue to invest in outdoor recreation while protecting these natural resources?
Well, that's the key, I think, is to protect them, because I want my kids to enjoy it. So as I said, I grew up with my dad going fishing on the lake and enjoying those natural resources, and I want my children to be able to do the same thing, and so many others in Lexington. I mean, there's generational families that have passed on either properties, and you see that on Lake Murray, that have been in their families forever, that those kids continue to grow up on the lake and they bring their families, and so much is there that it's such a meaningful spot. So I think that our goal is to make sure we protect those natural resources, whether it's the birds that, millions and millions of birds come in every night for a month, and people go, there was a time where I thought I could, we wouldn't be able to get to the birds because there are so many people going to see them. So it's really a great, it's just a great asset to have. And I think we got to protect it more than anything. And because, I personally don't feel that kids and the next generation are not going to get all the enjoyment they need by holding onto a phone and looking at something and researching it. You need to experience it.
For sure. There's nothing like seeing something in person. And finally, if someone were planning their first trip to Lake Murray, what attractions, restaurants, and outdoor experience would you encourage them to include?
Well, down on my end of the lake, obviously, I represent most of the end where the dam is. Obviously, the dam has a walkway. We've just did a public-private partnership with the Saluda Shoals, and we've opened up not just on the lake, but we've opened up. You can not only walk the dam, but now you'll be able to cross over Lake Murray Boulevard and get on a trail and walk 2 miles into Saluda Shoals Park and do another 2-mile loop in the trail there where, the Saluda Rivers Greenway project is going to be from there. You'll be able to get on a trail and go all the way to downtown Columbia on a bike or a run, whatever it might be. As far as the lake goes, there's so many good restaurants. I don't want to leave any out, so I'm not going to start mentioning them. But we've got most of all of our marinas are been there for quite some time, and it's just I'm very proud to represent the folks that are on Lake Murray for sure.
It sounds like you planned an excellent trip there. I know I'll be taking it for sure. Representative, thank you so much.
Man, thank you so much. Have a great day.
Well, there is still more In Focus South Carolina ahead. Up next, we'll be joined by Representative Brittain. He represents Charleston and Georgetown counties.
Mom was always very self-sufficient, but we started noticing things were off.
I was forgetting my responsibilities at work.
I told Mom we should visit a doctor.
Alzheimer's. It was hard to hear that.
Early detection gave us time to seek information and support as a family. I've never felt more connected with Mom.
If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together.
Welcome back. There's a lot of history to explore here in the Palmetto State, and in cities like Charleston, there's also a vibrant food scene. And our beaches are certainly a big draw. Legislator Brittain represents Charleston and Georgetown counties. He recently spoke with our Jody Kenny.
Representative Brittain, thank you so much for joining us here on In Focus.
Thank you so much for having me today.
I know coastal communities depend on clean water. Could you talk a little bit about how important it is for water quality monitoring, including bacteria advisories and also algal bloom notifications for protecting both public health and South Carolina's tourism industry?
Of course, public water is a very big, important deal down here, especially on the coast where we have tourism down here pretty much nonstop. I'd say probably from about February to November. Of course, we get some Christmas crowds too. So for public coming down here, especially our tourists, making sure that they know that the water is safe to get into, the water is safe to drink, the water is safe to shower in, that's free of bacteria, any kind of things that might be able to infect any of our constituents or tourists that come here is very high on the scale of things to make sure that we're taken care of.
Sea level rise, stronger storms, and also coastal erosion continue to be discussed along the coast as well. From a policy standpoint, I'm wondering how should South Carolina protect its natural resources while also keeping coastal tourism strong?
Well, I like to use the word conservative conservation. We need to make sure that we're saving the conserving the areas and the land where we can, but do that in a very in a way where we can combine things to make sure that we're doing it in a conservative nature, to make sure that we're not overspending and things that haven't worked in the past. So it's very difficult, especially when we talk about rising sea levels and possible storms that approach, hurricanes and natural disasters, to be super prepared for them. We just do what we can best, try to get our tourists out of here. But it's really difficult being on the coast like we are to completely have a plan that undertakes all things that could occur during a storm. We try our best to make sure that we warn our constituents and the tourists that may be down here during that time period to make sure they get to higher land. Of course, South Carolina, sometimes we can be a little stubborn, especially down here on the coast, and sometimes we just we like it home, and we like to have our make sure all of our prized possessions are okay with us.
You've worked on legislation involving short-term rentals. I'm wondering, why has that become such an important issue for coastal communities, and what is the balance that you're trying to strike between homeowners, local governments, and tourism?
That's a sticky wicket that we're all trying to really come up with a solution for. You have your personal property, which you feel like you can do with what you'd like to do with, and then you have these short-term rentals where you may have a neighborhood that may not specifically like the types of renters that may be coming in there for a week or 2 weeks, and they also have a right to the use of their land as well. So it's a really sticky wicket. I know some of the best minds in the field have been working on trying to come up with a compromise, making sure that both parties are happy in the end. And it's a continuous thing that we're working on, and hopefully here soon that we'll have a solution to.
And we all know that Myrtle Beach is one of South Carolina's signature destinations, partially because of its locally owned restaurants and shops and also live music. Could you talk about what role small businesses play in sustaining tourism in your district?
Small, big, medium, they all got their start from somewhere. There are some great small businesses here in South Carolina, especially here at the coast. We've got the Gay Dolphins, one of the premier small businesses, has been around for decades down here at Myrtle Beach. You've got little mom and pop stores, little diners, airport diners that are just so fantastic. And the locals know about those, and we kind of keep those small fun eateries to ourselves. But every once in a while, we'll let a secret out or two and make sure that the tourists get the chance to go visit some of these small special spots so that they can enjoy them as well. But small business is a great place to start here in Myrtle Beach. We've got a really good industry down here. We're very accepting, and always happy to have new people down here.
I have a little bit under a minute left. How do local law enforcement, EMS, DNR, and local governments coordinate during these major tourism weekends and large events?
With our state troopers, our EMTs, our EMS, our first responders, they all coordinate very well together, making sure that everyone has what they need, everyone gets the warnings they're supposed to get. Our local police here are amazing. I really believe that. I fight for them every day. They're a great group of guys and women. And I'm very pro-police, and we have to support that. And it's funny how when things get really, really, really bad, or an emergency type situation, how we all turn to those people and look for their support and their help. And I'll be, if I can help and support them in every other way and every other day.
Representative Brittain, we appreciate you joining us today.
Thank you so much. I hope you all have a fantastic afternoon. Always a pleasure to be with you guys.
Well, that does it for this edition of In Focus South Carolina. We'd like to thank you for spending part of your Sunday with us. I'm Bree Driscoll. Have a great day.